Hello, and welcome to London Pinball. So I've just drilled the lock on this Williams Stellar Wars. This game was put away probably about 35 years ago, I'm guessing, and hasn't been opened since. I can tell because the back panel is pure white, and the boards in the back that I just removed have obviously never been removed from the game. They were installed at the factory and never ever touched ever again. I drilled the lock because I didn't have the key, and now I'm about to try to remove the lockdown bar and lift the playfield. But the lockdown bar is glued, it's like the beer seal has glued itself to the glass, so I'm trying to pry the lockdown bar up. So wish me luck. Alright, so we got the old lockdown bar off there. The beer seal, you can see here, is basically mush. So the old beer seal on that lockdown bar turned to this grody, very sticky crud over the years. And now I'm going to slide the glass out and look under the playfield and see what we got. This is my favorite kind of game to purchase. It's the kind of game that, again, hasn't been opened in decades. The kind of game that was put away after it was finished in the arcade and never touched ever again. So I really enjoy cracking these types of things open and seeing what's inside. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of paperwork shoved at the back there. The manual and schematics, looks like. And hopefully there's no dead mice back there, but we'll check it out and see what we got. Alrighty, what do we got here? We got scorecards and a couple of burnt coils, and we've got, what's this? Manual amendment for Stellar Wars. And we got the catalog supplement with new parts and assemblies, first used on Stellar Wars. More scorecards. Catalog supplement. Backbox hardware. First used on Hot Tip and all following solid state flipper games. And another manual amendment for Stellar Wars drawing set. Some Stellar Wars games are equipped with Revision Level 6 CPU boards. This amendment provides assembly and logic diagrams for that board. I didn't know that. So some Stellar Wars are System 6. Who knew? And other than that, we got a mess of wires. And of course down here we got the soundboard and the knocker. And that's about it. Alright, so I've got this Stellar Wars set up. It's on legs, cleaned up the legs a little bit, and got the head on. And now I'm going to remove all the plastics and clean up the playfield. So let's check that out. Before I take all the plastics off this machine, I thought I'd just check out the playfield and indicate that it's in great shape. This machine sat for a very long time. It was very clearly taken off route and stored and never touched after that. It probably wasn't on route for very long because it looks really great. So I'm going to take off all these plastics, clean and wax the playfield, re-rubber it, probably put in some 2SMD LEDs from Comet because they look great, and go from there. Also worth noting on this machine is the fact that the back glass is just fantastic. I've seen a number of Stellar Wars over the years, and usually the reds are flaked right off, and there's lots of crackling in the paint. But this looks really great. The mirroring is in great shape, and there's really no issues at all. You can see the mirroring goes around the whole edge there. You'll notice I've removed the displays. What I've done is I took the boards and displays out, and I sent them away to a friend of mine who does board repairs. He does it far faster than I ever could, and it's just worth it. His name is Brent Butler. He's out of Coldwater, Ontario, and If you want his information, you'll find it in the description. Alrighty, so with all the plastics removed, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the posts, and that's going to look like this. Nice. Now, with all these posts out of the way, I can polish up the playfield and make it shine. But before I start polishing, I also need to remove the crappy mylar that has started to lift around the pop bumpers. It's lifting around this one and around that one over there. Probably not going to worry about these ones because the mylar is not lifting on those three. But I will do the other two, and it'll give me an opportunity to replace the crappy old skirts on there as well. It's because I'm going to have to remove the pop bumper bodies from the top of the playfield in order to properly remove the mylar underneath. With all the posts removed, I'm going to now use 99% isopropyl rubbing alcohol to clean off all the surface dirt, which will then allow me to use alcohol and a magic eraser to do a little bit more of a deep clean. Then I'll be using Novus 2 to clean and polish, and if I'm feeling really energetic, I'll use some pure carnauba wax to wax the playfield and give it a real slick surface so that that ball whips around. And now this sounds like a good time for a montage. Let's talk about this shooter rod here. As you can see, it's badly bent because some moron leaned on it with all their strength, with all their weight, I'm sure. Anyway, you'll see here, this is the sleeve that goes into the shooter rod housing. It's also broken. So I have some new ones here that I'm going to slide in there. I also have a brand new shooter rod to throw in there as well. So a lot of people don't realize that these sleeves are completely necessary. Things won't work properly if you don't throw the sleeve in there. You can get these at Marco, Pinball Resource, the normal places. They are called, literally, ball shooter sleeve. Williams. One more thing while we're talking about shooters, drives me nuts. These are shooter springs. They're called barrel springs, and there are two different sizes. And if you order, if you go to order these from like Marco, it's really hard to find the small ones. Yet the small ones seem to be more prevalent than the big ones. These are used in modern machines. These tend to be used more in older games, like from the late 70s, early 80s, Bally, Williams, Gottlieb, that sort of thing. So if you're ordering new barrel springs from the standard places, make sure you're getting the right size. I'll measure this one, and I'm going to put it on the screen right now. Alright, I got my boards back from my very wonderful board guy, Brent. And I'm very excited to put them back in the game and get this thing working. So let's do that now. You'll see he's installed new high voltage caps and a new 5-volt filter cap. He's replaced all of the caps on this board actually. Now a lot of people think that when you get your boards repaired, you're ready to go. But the reality is that quite often connectors can be the issue as well. Especially on a motherboard like a Bally or a Stern motherboard that's seen battery corrosion. You'll often need to replace the connectors in the corrosion zone. These connectors all look good, there's none that are burned, so I have no reason to assume that any of them need to be replaced or repinned. So I'm moving forward with confidence. And you might be wondering, Corey, why do you send your boards out to a board repair guy? Can't you repair your own boards? Yes, I can. Do I enjoy repairing my own boards? No, I don't. Is it a time-consuming pain in the ass? Yes, it is. I don't get a whole lot of thrill out of wasting hours and hours tracking down, issues and troubleshooting. I've been there. I've done that. I don't need to do it again. I can fix boards if I absolutely have to. I can track down logic issues. I can replace chips. I can replace transistors. I do it all the time. But when I get a game like this that is unknown to me, and I don't want to mess around, and I don't want to waste all kinds of time, I just pack up the boards, send them to my pal Brent in Coldwater, Ontario. And he repairs all of the boards, checks them out, makes sure they're all 100%, and his prices are very reasonable and his turnaround time is extremely fast. So that to me is good enough, and I don't need to waste my time messing around with the things I don't like messing around with. So that's that. And of course here is the world famous, ridiculous Williams connector, the 40-pin connector that runs between the two boards, the motherboard and the driver board. It is the dumbest thing in the history of the world. And as you can see, Brent has replaced the whole thing, both the male pins and the female pins. He's also replaced the original battery pack with a 2032 coin cell battery. He's installed a new ROM. New power connector. But I bet a lot of money on these boards working right out of the box. Now in behind the motherboard here is a little platform hook area that the board kind of slots into. I'm not going to take it off and show you again. You probably saw it before I put the boards on there. And that's where the motherboard sits in that slot. And then we're going to put a screw here, 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 and here, and not here or here, because long ago Williams released a bulletin saying that installing the screws in the center put too much pressure on this connector. Also, if you've ever had to install, or if you've ever tried to install all 6 screws, you'll know that it's a major hassle. So we don't do that anymore. Where'd my screw go? Always losing stuff. 4 screws in can be a major hassle.
Can just go in your home, will ya?
One thing I want to mention on these Williams games, made between 77, 78, and 87, really, is these bridge rectifiers down here. They were not fused from the factory. They were not fused, which means if they short, it can literally start a fire. So there's 2 bridge rectifiers. There's one right here and one here, and it's highly recommended that those get fused. And what you do is you'll see there's a red wire that comes in here. This is one of the AC inputs. So I'm just going to pull that off of there, and then there's another, there's a blue wire right there. So both the 2 red inputs and the 2 blue inputs are the AC inputs for these bridges. And what I'm going to do is I've got a couple of fuse clips like these guys right here. I've got a wire lead that I've connected to these fuse clips. I've soldered to these fuse clips, and then I'm going to pull the red wire and the blue wire off of these guys, and I'm going to fuse each of them to their own fuse clip, and then I'm going to put a fuse in there. Alright, so now you can see I've got a couple of fuses in there, and I labeled it, which you can't really see, 8 amp SB. And so those, the red and the blue lines, the AC input lines come into those fuses, and then they go up to each of those bridges. Again, those are 8 amp fuses. There's the bridges. And now the game won't start on fire. If you want instructions on how to do this, you'll find it on Pinside. There's a wonderful thread on there. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically just Google fuse bridge rectifier Williams pinball, and you'll find the instructions on how to do this. Alright, so at this point, you'll notice there's no displays. I'm ready to turn the game on and try it out, except that I don't have any displays hooked up yet. So I'm going to do that right now. I know I only have 1 or 2 working displays. I've bought a pack of do-it-yourself Wolf Pack Williams displays for this machine that I'm going to put together myself. I'm going to do a separate video on that so you can see that process. And those will look really great, but in the meantime I've got a couple of old displays I'm going to pop in here, and we're going to try this game out right now. You're going to see it with me for the first time. I have not plugged this game in with boards in it, and this game probably hasn't operated in at least 30 years. So we'll get started on that right now. Alright, this is very exciting. So I have put everything back together. We have the boards ready to go. Everything's nice and clean in here. All the connectors are reconnected. Boards are done. Bridges are fused. Playfield's clean. Let's see how it goes. I'm going to plug it in. I've plugged it in. I'm going to turn it on, and we're going to see what happens. Alright? Cross your fingers. So we've got display down here. I do not know if this display works. It does not look like it, but we've got action here, and the playfield is in attract mode, which you can see here, which looks amazing, I might add. A couple of bulbs out, one up top in the top lane there I can see, and that sound that you hear is the soundboard's probably turned up to full. So I'm going to check on that. I'm going to turn it off, and we're going to try one of these other displays. Excellent. So now you can see that that first player display is working. Master display is working. Like I say, when I got this machine, it came with a hodgepodge of boards and displays. I wasn't sure if any of them worked, but it looks like I got a couple that work, at least. that's good. Let's try it out. This is so exciting! Well, I'm gonna try and have to figure out what the heck is going on with that loud buzzing. That's crazy. Alright, so now you'll notice there's no background sound, even though Stellar Wars has background sound. I'm going to enable that right now. Okay, so it's option 35 gets you, you'll see here, I'm going to zoom in on that. You'll see here, if you go up to number 35, the default is 0, which is stupid. Default is 0. I'm going to put that to 1. That should enable our background sound. And while I'm in here, I'm going to go down to option 18, which is our maximum credits. And if you set that to 0, you'll have free play. And that's the same with pretty much every Williams game. Can't think of any that don't have option 18 as the number of coins required for a credit. And if you put it to 0, and it's not so much that the number in the display indicates how many coins are required for a credit. There's a whole table of what the different numbers mean, but default is 20. And if you put it to 0, then it's free play. So let's try that. Boy, that buzz is something else. I'm gonna have to deal with that. I'm starting to understand why the background sound default is off. Stellar Wars has background sound, and it's generally pretty terrible. There's 31 options for the background sound. They call it the sweep sound, and all of them aren't worth using. I've used this game with no background sound now for several months because I cannot handle any of those background sounds. However, if you want to try them out, you can set your game to option number 35 using your coin door buttons. And if you go to 35 and you put it to 1 or anything over 0 and ranging between 0 and 31, you can try all of the background sounds, but you don't have to try those. I'm going to give you a sample of what each one of them sounds like right now. Worth noting is that whatever background sound you choose, whatever sweep sound you like, it gets more and more rapid as you spell Stellar Wars. So here in this example, I've got number 30 selected in the sweep sound options, and I've got Stellar all spelled completely, and so now it's just pulsating to the 4 letters in Wars. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty irritating. And all of the sounds are pretty irritating. Except, I mean, all of the background sounds are pretty irritating, that is. One thing I wanted to talk about on this game is the early generation soundboards that these very early solid-state Williams games came with. They are commonly very noisy, and as you could hear in the earlier in this video, this game was humming like mad, and it was totally unbearable. So I sought to finally resolve this issue. And if you get on the forums and you start poking around on this kind of topic, you'll find lots of people that just say, "Oh, it's just the grounds. You got to make sure the grounds are good. You got to make sure the boards are screwed tightly to the frame and all that." And yeah, I get all of that. But what if you've done all of those things and you still have an incredibly loud, noisy game? And like I said, the early Williams solid state games were generally noisy. Well, the issue stems from the fact that the soundboard shares a ground with all of the other circuit boards. And this wire here, on the middle pin on this power connector, goes directly to the power supply. And like I say, it's a common ground for all the boards. If you cut this wire and run a new wire directly from this connector to the frame of the power supply, or the frame of the soundboard, which is connected directly to the ground strap, the problem goes away. And so you'll see that's what I've done here. And just for fun, I left a little note above that says, original ground, very noisy, replaced with wire to direct ground. And if I turn the game on, you'll see that it is no longer unbearably noisy. So does it hum? Yes, of course it hums, just like every other pinball machine. But it's nowhere near as noisy as it was, and now it's quite acceptable. Alright, I think that's pretty much all that really needs to be done on this Stellar Wars. We've done everything we possibly can except for, major restorative work like touching up and clear coating the playfield and the sort of things that I just don't like getting into. The boards are all redone. I installed LEDs, I installed new displays, I cleaned it and polished it and waxed it and put on new rubber rings, and it's looking really, really good. And I guess the only thing that's left to do is really to play it. So stay tuned for that. I'll have a separate video showing gameplay on this machine. You'll probably see some thing flying in here showing you where you can find that video right now. Also, I should note that I did a video on the displays that I installed in this machine, and I'll include that in the description for this video as well. They are the Wolfpack do-it-yourself display kit. Really highly recommend Wolfpack and the displays that they provide. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful / informative / entertaining. Whatever you found it, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later.